Hey there, my name is Blake Cadwell. I'm the co-founder at Soundly.com, and I'm also a hearing aid wearer. I've tried dozens of hearing aids from the least expensive OTC products all the way up to premium prescriptive devices. And I recently had a chance to try out Nano hearing aids. And this brand can be a little bit controversial. Folks often think of it, or many folks think of it, as sort of a really low priced and even low quality product. And I'd heard a lot of these rumors, but I hadn't tried it for myself. And so recently I purchased some Nano hearing aids online. I just went to their website and bought what ended up being a BOGO deal. They sent me an in the ear and a behind the ear device. And I put them through the paces. And in this video, I want to talk to you about that experience and sort of what I found with the Nano experience overall, if you're just curious or if you're considering Nano hearing aids for yourself. So this is what the box looked like. Pretty simple. Came in a shipper, and then inside there were two individual boxes, one for each of my products that I mentioned. And as I mentioned, I purchased these online. One thing about Nano, if you go to Nano's website, they're almost always running deals. This particular deal apparently was $943 originally and $599 when I purchased it. It was a BOGO, so I got two pairs of hearing aids for the price of one. Also got 6 months of batteries. It's not always my favorite when brands run deals like this. It makes it makes the overall product experience feel like maybe a little bit gimmicky, but this is how they choose to sort of run their website, and this is what I ended up purchasing. So when they arrived, you can see here. Sort of move this out of the way. You can see the device itself. Fairly premium packaging, not the most premium, but not bad. And then they sent a bunch of batteries, which was nice. So I unboxed the CIC or in the ear devices first. Red is for the right side, blue is for the left side. They're a little bit chunky, but not huge. I think I have a picture here, of how they look in my ear. So I compared them side by side with the Sony CREC10, which is a sort of invisible style OTC product that was released last year. You can see the Nano device hangs out of my ear a little bit, whereas the Sony CREC10 sits entirely inside of my ear canal. It's something to consider if you're looking for a truly invisible device. Here's another image of the Sony next to kind of the Nano device. One thing to note with the in-the-ear device from Nano is that you have to use this screwdriver to change the volume. So you can't change the volume with your fingers, and there is no phone app. So it's an extremely basic device. The screwdriver is the only way I was able to learn to change the volume. One other thing I experienced with these devices in particular. Now, remember, in theory, these were free because it was buy one, get one free. I think these were the free side of that buy one, get one. But when I went to put the hearing aids in my ear, every single time I got a pretty loud squeal, and I was unable to make that go away. I even called customer service. They weren't able to give me any tips. And I even found in the literature, it talked about, put the hearing aids in as quickly as possible because they're going to squeal. And so it seems like this is just par for the course for this particular product. Pretty annoying for me, probably annoying for other people, but it seems like that's the way this particular product works. So I went from the CIC or in-ear device to then I moved on to the behind-the-ear device. And you can see here it's, just sort of a typical style. Sits behind the ear, comes over, and the tube and the ear tip sits inside the ear. That's how the sound is coming through. I compared it to one of the leading OTC devices that I also have reviewed and tried, which is the Bose hearing aid, which you can kind of see on the left-hand side here. It's quite a bit bigger, but still kind of in range, similar size. One other key difference in the body is that the Nano device uses a thin tube, meaning the microphone actually sits, or I'm sorry, the speaker actually sits on the body of the hearing aid, and then it pipes sound through a tube manually, or kind of, I guess, in an analog way. It pushes it into your ear. Most hearing aids, including the Bose hearing aid, use a wire, so it digitally sends that signal down, and the speaker sits inside of your ear. Typically, you get a little bit of a higher quality sound in the way that Bose is doing it. But again, the Nano device is more affordable than the Bose device. Bose typically runs around $800 or $900. This Nano device was $599 for two hearing aids or two pairs. So with this device, there is more customization that you can do. So I went through an app. I connected the two hearing aids. It was actually quite easy. Then I took a test. It was a series of tones. I would just let the app know if I heard the tone or didn't through the hearing aids. And then once I was done with the test, it fitted my hearing aids. Now, one thing I realized is as soon as I saw my sort of fitting, the right hand side was correct. It was pretty close to my kind of prescriptive targets. The left hand side, the test somehow didn't read correctly, and it was pretty far off what I typically need in terms of amplification for my particular hearing loss. So I manually changed that, and it's actually pretty easy to do in the Nano app. You just drag those sort of circles and on the bars, and that takes care of kind of changing the amplification in real time. I liked how easy this part was, and once I had it set up, my overall experience with sound quality was it was helpful. It was, it definitely made TV clearer. It made conversation clearer. I was certainly hearing more with these devices than I was without any support. Now, if I put these side by side with premium devices or even devices that are a couple $100 more, I certainly didn't feel like they were quite at that quality. But this device, unlike the in-the-ear device that I opened first, was actually helpful. The in-the-ear device, I don't think I'd recommend it to anyone really. It didn't feel helpful to me. I think I was actually hearing worse. The behind the ear device in situational environments, yeah, I do think it would help me versus no hearing aid at all. One thing I did, and I mentioned this, is I called customer service because a lot of people complain that Nano doesn't have good customer service. They don't respond. It did take me about 5 minutes to get someone on the phone, which was a little bit annoying. They also needed my order number. They couldn't really talk to me until I could find my order number. So I had to look up my original order and find it in my email. And then once I found it, they were able to find me and help, start to talk to me. Ultimately, what I found with customer service is, I called them about the squealing in the ear model. And there was very little they could do. They don't have any control over the device. They essentially told me to take the battery out and put it back in, which did nothing. They recommended I change the ear tips, which again wasn't helpful. And then, as I'm looking at the literature, it's talking about squealing. So I'm not sure, it didn't give me a lot of support, but I certainly didn't find that, there was no one on the other end or that I was not able to get a hold of customer service. They were there. They just might not have been able to help me very much. So one thing to call out, if you're thinking about getting Nano hearing aids, I would recommend you pay special attention to the return policy. The first thing to note is it's 45 days. The second thing to note is there are a few steps that you'll have to take in order to return your hearing aids that you just need to set aside some time and do it very thoughtfully. You have to get an RMA number. You have to send it back in its kind of original state, make sure all of the manuals and program or all of the literature is in there and that the hearing aids are clean. There are a number of things you'll have to do in order to get a refund from the company. One thing I noticed is that throughout all the material, there's this promotion of a 60-day hearing journey contest. And I think it's just worth noting for anyone who's considering 60 days is beyond the 45-day return window. So if you go through this 60-day hearing contest, which apparently gives you a coupon, you should just know that you're essentially forfeiting your ability to return if you decide to do so. So what I recommend is keep your hearing aids for 30 days, 20, 30 days. And if you're finding some benefit, great. If you're not finding any benefit, just ship them back, get your money back, and maybe try something else. There are other quality products on the market. So the last thing I did is I actually put them in a binaural microphone so you can listen. If you go to this blog post, which is at hearsoundly.com, if you go to this blog post, you can listen to sound files. And I recorded the in-the-ear device, the behind-the-ear device, and then I put them side by side with prescription sample. So check that out on the website if you want to hear what these hearing aids actually sound like. And final thoughts. I was able to compare these side by side with a handful of other products: the Sony product, the Bose product. I've of course tried lots of other things. My net on this is I don't find that this product is worthless, especially the behind the ear style. I think it's probably better than nothing for some folks in some situations. I am left with the question, is this worth $5.99? It's not the product that I would recommend to family and friends. I'll put it that way. I don't think it's a complete scam. The company itself is sort of embattled and has done a lot of things in the world of marketing that I don't appreciate. But their product seems like it's probably okay. For $599, you're only a couple $100 away from a lot of really quality products, including Sony, Bose. You know, go up even a little bit more in price, you can start to get prescription products from companies like Jabra Enhanced Select. It's just not the product I would recommend to family and friends, but my overall experience didn't leave me feeling like this product is completely worthless, especially that behind the ear style device. So hopefully you've found this to be helpful. These are just my experiences. I'm sure others have had other experiences. And again, I'll link this full blog post in the show notes. And good luck with your search if you're looking for hearing aids.